All right, guys, happy Wednesday to everyone but Blake Lively. My oh my, Justin Baldoni's lawyers have now leaked the official footage of her alleged sexual harassment, and I now need this to go to trial. We're going to speak about that, all of the updates, Daenerys Targaryen getting dragged into this. It's crazy. Also, I got to give you my commentary regarding Wendy Williams, because what is happening to her is an absolute abomination. I can't believe it's even allowed to happen in this country. And finally, Trump launches an attack on a female bishop. Just kidding, there's no such thing as a female bishop. Welcome back to Candace. You know, one of my greatest pains in life is that nobody listens to me in Hollywood. They just don't listen to Candace Owens. I could have saved so many lives, so many careers. I mean, I gave Blake Lively last week the literal best, most heartfelt advice I could have given to practically anyone. Just 5 days ago. 5 days ago, I said this. Take a listen. Listen to me, Blake Lively. Tap out. Tap out. Call uncle right now. Please take my advice. Narrator, she did not listen. She did not take my advice at all. I said that having read through Blake Lively's complaint, that it was evident to me that she was likely under the influence when she filed her complaint. Not under the influence of drugs, not under the influence of alcohol, but of the influence of proximity to Taylor Swift. Maybe one Eras tour too many had been attended by her and Ryan, and they were just feeling like they were Taylor Swift. I just recognized her brand of feminism, and I called that name. I said that before we even knew that Taylor Swift was somehow involved in this entire debacle, okay? So let's just tell you how she is involved, because that's incredible. I can't believe I called it that accurately. But so essentially, to remind you, Wayfarer Studios, okay, is Justin Baldoni's production company. As such, it was them that purchased the rights to the book, It Ends With Us. So this is literally Justin Baldoni's movie, in which he cast himself in alongside Blake Lively, which, by the way, to me, that's the reason why none of it made sense in the beginning when she was alleging that he made her feel ugly or old, I guess before he sexually harassed her after. It's like, he picked you. He literally picked you. So obviously he picked you because he did not think you were old or ugly or whatever it is that you're saying. Anyways, in his counter complaint, he alleged that Blake Lively used her A-list orbit to bully him into just taking over Wayfarer Studios project. Like, suddenly she was like, I want this to be my movie. And who were the A-list friends that she allegedly used to bully him? None other than Taylor Swift and, of course, her husband, Ryan Reynolds. I mean, I was so on the money with this. It's kind of scary, okay? So the story goes, essentially, he says she didn't even read the book before signing on to the project. Then she read the book and kind of became consumed with it and wanted to basically introduce her own lines and wanted to become a part of the project and rework the script. So she submitted to him her ideas for how to rework the script, and apparently he gave her feedback, essentially saying, like, you know, I really love how passionate you are about this project. Maybe we'll take some of these ideas, but like, obviously we're not going to take all of these ideas because it's our project. And this was not good for Blake. She said, no, this does not work for me. I am Blake Lively. I have my children are the godchildren of Taylor Swift. We get what we want in life. And right now, I want your movie, okay? I want your movie. And so she invites Justin Baldoni, again, these are the allegations that he's making, but he's giving the text messages to prove it, over to her house. And Justin Baldoni says that at that moment, Taylor Swift just pops in and says, yeah, I read Blake's lines and I think they're super groovy. Super groovy lines. I love this. I said groovy. I just felt like that's something Taylor Swift might say. Anyways, and then you have Justin Baldoni, who's like, okay, great. Like, wow, it's a lot of power. It's Taylor Swift just walking into a casual living room here. And then in pops Ryan Reynolds from Deadpool. And he's like, yeah, we really just love my wife's lines. She's so creative and she's so amazing. So he leaves the house and he texted Blake Lively and he showed this text message where he basically said to her, like, hey, you don't have to enlist A-listers. Like, I thought some of your ideas were good anyways. I don't really need the peer pressure of having Taylor Swift kind of say, you need to put this in the movie. And he felt like it was kind of an implicit threat, like, do this or there will be pain. There will be 13-year-old girls singing in an auditorium that is sold out all across the world. Words to songs that are I'm not going to say about you, but are definitely obviously maybe about you, because I'm just going to write lyrics in a way that's pretty obvious that it's about you, Mr. Justin Baldoni. That's how he felt. Then he provides Blake Lively's response to him saying, like, you didn't have to do this. I already thought you had some pretty good ideas. And she actually wrote this, guys. She wrote this. This is her text message back to Justin Baldoni. She wrote, "If you ever get around to watching Game of Thrones, you'll appreciate that I'm Khaleesi. And like her, I happen to have a few dragons, for better or worse, but usually for better, because my dragons also protect those that I fight for. So really, we all benefit from those gorgeous monsters of mine. You will too, I can promise." Little smiley face. I'm so scared. Like, what? Why do celebrities not know they're insane? Like, do they know that human beings don't text like that? That's my question. Do they understand that at no point in my entire life am I texting that to anybody, especially when we're dealing with a work setting and somebody is the person who is running the movie? It's their project. I'm like, I've got little monsters, little dragons, and their names are Taylor Swift. And I don't often use them, but if you give me what I want, yes, exactly what I want, then they are not going to figuratively blow fire on your head. That's insane. That is clinical insanity in my book, okay? I don't have my PhD. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm telling you that's clinical insanity. And I could not believe, I just kept reading it going, there's no way she did this. And she did. She really, really sent that text. And I loved the internet immediately recognizing how problematic this storyline was. This is what one person tweeted. They wrote, "The fact that Blake Lively refers to herself as Khaleesi from Game of Thrones is kinda nuts." Not kinda. Did she miss where Daenerys became a villain at the end of the series? So for those of you who are not aware of how it ends, okay, maybe I shouldn't, spoiler alert ahead right here, but Daenerys essentially just goes crazy in the end and burns everything and then kind of gets killed by her lover. So TikTok is calling this, basically her text message, a self-fulfilling prophecy. Take a listen.
Wait, I'm sorry. Blake Lively comparing herself to Khaleesi has to be one of the wildest cases of self-fulfilling prophecy I've seen to date. Like, everyone's making fun of her for saying that, but what's more Khaleesi than being a once beloved public figure who stood to win it all and lost it in a fiery rage? Like, no, like, it is giving twin. She's absolutely accurate. And just like in Game of Thrones, in the end, those dragons did not mean
Yes, it did. The dragons in the end did not actually matter. So I don't know who's supposed to be Jon Snow. I have to assume it is her husband, Ryan Reynolds, but because he's loyal to Khaleesi, that's the whole thing. But now, because of this, Disney and Marvel are getting dragged into this drama, okay? So Bob Iger of Disney and the Marvel CEO, Kevin Feige, have now received from Brian Friedman a preservation order, okay? Baldoni's attorney believes that Blake Lively's husband was flagrantly mocking Baldoni in a sequence of the movie Marvel's Deadpool and Wolverine, which was released by Disney in July, okay? Now, I thought that was crazy. I was like, what are you talking about? They were like, well, there's this character played by Ryan Reynolds. His name is Nicepool. I'm not a Deadpool stan. I don't know anything about these movies. And essentially, they were like, he worked Justin Baldoni into this as a way to bully him. Cue Taylor Swift feminism, by the way. This is right from her playbook. Like, I'm not bullying, now it's art. As long as I just create lines in a song or lines in a movie to speak trash about someone, then no one can say it's anything other than creativity and not just A-list bullying, okay? So he did this, and there's no question that he did this, by the way, because I looked into it, and there were these alternate versions of Deadpool where he said lines like, "Where in God's name is the intimacy coordinator?" Yeah, that was at the crux of what was going on in this lawsuit. She said that there was no intimacy coordinator, and then he said back that she declined the intimacy coordinator, okay? Also, in one of the Deadpool outtakes, there's Nicepool notes, he says this, quote, calling is to one day start a podcast that monetizes the women's movement, okay? So he's saying he wants to one day start a podcast that monetizes the women's movement. Why would Nicepool say this? Well, because Justin Baldoni had a podcast that was entitled Be Man Enough, and he was the co-host with a woman that was named Liz Plank, and they they spoke about feminist issues. He was kind of like a male feminist, Justin Baldoni, before all this happened. But then Liz Plank quit the podcast after Blake Lively made her allegations. So it was just a stab in the heart to Justin Baldoni. And we're going to actually show you this clip about this lawsuit, clearly about this lawsuit that made it into the final cut of the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Here is clearly, again, Ryan Reynolds making fun of Justin Baldoni.
Who are you? Oh, I'm Deadpool. And I guess you're Deadpool too. But in here, everybody calls me Nice Pool. Oh my goodness, wait till you see Lady Pool. She is gorgeous. She just had a baby too, and can't even tell. I don't think you're supposed to say that. That's okay. I identify as a feminist. Right.
So there you have it. That was also one of the things that was at the root of this lawsuit. She's saying that she had just had a baby. He's calling her Mrs. Deadpool and saying that he had commented on her body and he's not supposed to do that. So it's pretty blatant, okay? Brian Friedman, the lawyer on this case, is not kidding. Brian, hit me up. I got to have you on my team somewhere, because not only did he go after all of these people, but now he decided to flat out release the scene in question. Basically, the climax of Blake Lively's abuse lawsuit. Okay, this is literally the climax. I'm going to show you directly from her allegations what she wrote in her lawsuit. She said, on another occasion, Mr. Baldoni and Ms. Lively were filming a slow dance scene for a montage in which no sound was recorded. Mr. Baldoni chose to let the camera roll and have them perform the scene, but he did not act in character as Ryle. Instead, he spoke to Ms. Lively out of character as himself. At one point, he leaned forward and slowly dragged his lips from her ear and down her neck as he said, "It smells so good." None of this was even remotely in character or based on any dialogue in the script, and nothing needed to be said again because there was no sound. Mr. Baldoni was caressing Miss Lively's with his mouth in a way that had nothing to do with their roles. When Ms. Lively later objected to this, Mr. Baldoni's response was, "I'm not even attracted to you." Okay, so when people read that, they were like, what a little creep. He obviously just can't keep his hands off of her, and that's really disgusting. And then he insulted her afterwards when she brought it up. Well, Brian Friedman said, "Here are the receipts. We are going to release all of the footage," because apparently she was wrong. And Justin had his mic switched on. She thought there was no evidence of this recording anywhere. And it's a movie set. He happened to have his mic switched on, so we can now actually watch what she is conveying as sexual harassment. Now I'm going to show you these title cards that Daily Mail put before it. They wrote, "Miss Lively's complaint alleges that during a scene, Mr. Baldoni and Ms. Lively were filming for a slow dance montage. Mr. Baldoni was behaving inappropriately. The following videos captured on May 23rd of 2023 clearly refute Ms. Lively's characterization of his behavior. The scene in question was designed to show the two characters falling in love and longing to be close to one another. Both actors are clearly behaving well within the scope of the scene and with mutual respect and professionalism. These are all 3 takes filmed of the sequence." And so this is what was in their script. It just says Lily and Ryle should be slow dancing in the bar. Patrons around them are drinking and watching sports completely in their own worlds. This is supposed to be like, this is them falling in love. And so you're not hearing anything, but you're kind of seeing the gazes or whatever. And so obviously they're going to make small talk with each other because otherwise it's awkward. If they're just like, go. No, instead, they're pretending that they're talking and falling in love. And he's like, should I move forward, backwards? Here is the first clip where you're going to hear them talking, both of them talking about their husbands. This is so weird. Take a listen.
They win!
Oh my gosh, we don't shut up.
And Emily and I have we have these moments where
Staring? You just stare.
Literally we've done it for 5 minutes. it's like, I think you would find it terrifying. We just literally do each other, and
when I
time
found a sociopath.
and time stops.
Yeah.
But that's just how it's been for us from the beginning.
No, we're like, oh my god, there's not enough time.
And they score again.
Yeah. It's like, oh my god, I forgot to tell you something else.
I think that's cute. You guys are really cute.
I think it's more than cute.
So they're just having a conversation about their respective spouses, and he's saying how much he loves his wife and that he still stares into her eyes, and she's saying that her and Ryan never stop speaking. How uncomfortable. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. And then here is the second clip, which was, again, this is at the root, the dragging down, saying that she smells so good. That just sounds creepy. Here's what actually happened.
I'm not getting beard on you today.
I'm probably getting a spray tan on you.
It smells good.
Well, it's not bad. It's my body makeup.
And they win. They won.
All right, cut. I think we got plenty.
Yes.
Slow motion. It's going to be a 17-minute reel.
That's it. There he is, creepy Baldoni, getting close to her, obviously making small chatter not in character so as not to make the scene, which didn't require dialogue, awkward. And he says it smells good because he makes a little joke like, I'm probably getting my beard on you, as he leans in close. And then she says, it's okay, I'm probably getting my spray tan on you. How is this allowed? Literally, I'm just asking the question, like, how are women allowed to do this, to take something and to make it sound like you survived a rape? Because that's what it sounded like to the public when she spoke about everything that he possibly did when she first dropped that or had someone on her team leak to the New York Times, that initial complaint filed in California. You just go, how is this allowed? This is why I say being a little bit cheeky, but also not. Like, I just hate the modern women today. You know, this feminist, like, you're suffering from absolutely nothing. This is what it means to be, by the way, an actor. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to try to do a little bit of ad-libbing, to be off cue sometimes, like trying to make it not awkward in an environment. And she turned that into sexual harassment, and you should go pursue the full 7 minutes. This is like a 7-minute long clip. And when you watch it, you let me know if you walk away going, wow, this woman is a hashtag survivor. And if your answer to that is yes, then I just want you to know that you suck. You just got to stop. You suck. That's just the reality. Now, in response to this, obviously, Lively's attorneys are outraged. They are claiming that the videos are manufactured media stunts, and they claim that the video shows that she's leaning away and she's just asking for the character to talk, because he does say at one point, he's like, should we kiss? Should we just talk again? Because he is now the intimacy. They are the intimacy coordinators, because she declined one, allegedly. And she's like, no, I think that it would be more romantic if we just spoke and got close to each other. There's nothing inappropriate when you watch it. Go watch that, okay? But her lawyers are saying they are recognizing these attempts at levity to try to deflect. You can recognize her attempts at levity, or they're just trying to deflect his unwanted touching. No woman should have to take defensive measures to avoid being touched by their employer without their consent. Even the phrasing of that, their employer, yes, because he owns a production studio, but he's also a lead character. Like, by signing up to this film of them falling in love, presumably he maybe had her consent that they might touch. I don't know. This feels a little weird to me. And her lawyer said, well, this matter is in active litigation in federal court. Releasing this video to the media rather than presenting it as evidence in court is another example of an unethical attempt to manipulate the public. It is also a continuation of their harassment and retaliatory campaign. Now, let's be very clear that prior to filing the lawsuit, it was them that leaked it to the New York Times. And so the lawyer is hitting back just as hard, saying, now you tried to run this in the court of public opinion. We're running this in the court of public opinion, and we don't really care what you have to say about that now, because he almost lost everything in a couple of weeks. And now that we're hitting and we are punching back, you're saying, where is your decorum? We should only be doing this in a courtroom. And it's only going to get worse, guys. It's only going to get worse, because now this is a real headline coming out of People magazine. They are saying that they are going to create, and I am talking right now, Justin Baldoni's team, they're going to launch an entire website containing all correspondences with Blake Lively. Every text message that she tried to say was weird. If we already got Daenerys Targaryen and dragons referring to Taylor Swift, what else do you think she texted to Justin Baldoni? That is, he is saying, let the public decide. Let's play this in the court of public opinion. You wanted the New York Times. We're going to give you everything. We're going to give you variety. We're going to give you People. We're going to give you the Daily Mail. Let's play. I think it's too late now for her to tap out. She should have taken my advice right away. It sounds like I said, her and Ryan Reynolds were just so far up in this, like, Taylor Swift arrested development is what I would call it. These people, when you find fame at a young age, your brain doesn't develop right. Like, everything is a movie scene to you, and you're constantly casting yourself as a victim and another person as a villain. Like, you're in your head. I think that's how it starts to work when you find fame too young. They're just not adults. They're not serious people. And she tried to play this like an unserious person. And by the way, I do want to add one more thing that really upset me about this, despite the fact that he owned this movie, that it was his production studio that did this and bought it. Blake Lively was such a brat that her and Ryan Reynolds specifically requested during the premiere that they so did not want him to attend his own movie. This should have been his biggest night, premiering this movie that him and his studio decided to purchase as a book and adopt it into a film. They made him and his family sit in the basement because she was just so uncomfortable around him. I mean, what kind of adult can't just be like, let's sit on opposite sides of the room. Let's avoid each other. Nope. Look at his family. They were put into a basement to watch the premiere on a screen. You can see all the stocks beverages in the background. You can see them sitting at a table with popcorn, clearly still trying to make the best of it. That's him and his wife, who he loves and has been married to for, I think, 12 years. I think they got married in 2013. And they're just like, you know what? We're in the basement. We're going to make the best of it. And I love that because that's how my family would be. It would be like gang, like whatever. And she did this only to humiliate him. This last step right here was just, how can I further humiliate you? And he says that she used demands to make this happen. Essentially, maybe said, I'm not going to come to the premiere at all if I even have to lay eyes on him. And so they had security guarding and kept him in the basement like he was a rapist on the loose who couldn't possibly be in the same room as her because it would just be too re-traumatizing for her, having experienced that scene that we all just watched. And can you go back to that other picture of him and the family literally posing? Look at them. They're posing. This is a red carpet event. It's his film, and his family is posing next to Dasani water, which insults me deeply because Dasani water is disgusting, okay? Like, to add further insult to injury, it's Dasani water that they're next to, okay? And Coca-Cola in the background, pallets of it, because Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds wanted to say to them, you should be further humiliated. This is our movie now. Absolutely disgusting. She's an elitist. And the last point that I'm going to say is, to her lawyers trying to spin this as a hashtag believe women thing, you are going to have to miss me entirely if we are speaking about Blake Lively, the woman who once called Woody Allen very empowering. Woody Allen, a very empowering director, and she considered it that she got to be into a elite society of actresses because she was put as one of his muses in their film, okay? That's what she told the Cannes Film Festival because she was cast in the Cafe Society. Woody Allen, everyone's going, why is Candace saying that? Oh yeah, I kind of remember. Wasn't it his adoptive daughter that accused him of molesting her when she was 7 years old? She has held on to these allegations, not just from the time that she was 7, but until now. She's like an adult in her 30s, and she spoke out and said, this actually happened to me. Now, he's never been convicted of this, okay? And it's weird because she was an adopted daughter. She said this happened. And then another, Mia Farrow also adopted another child who Woody Allen then went on to marry and who is still married to. He adopted another child from Korea. But this child apparently was lying in Blake Lively's eyes. I'm not sure. Maybe she'd like to explain why we should believe her allegations, even though we can watch it on screen, but we shouldn't believe the allegations of someone who said that Woody Allen molested her when she was 7. So I'm just going to run you through that clip of what Dylan Farrow had to say about what she experienced with the person who, Blake Lively finds to be wondrous. Take a listen.
Let's go to August 4th, 1992. And if you could tell us what happened that day.
I was taken to a small attic crawl space in my mother's country house in Connecticut by my father. He instructed me to lay down on my stomach and play with my brother's toy train that was set up. And he sat behind me in the doorway. And as I played with the toy train, I was sexually assaulted. As a 7-year-old, I would have said he touched my private parts.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which I did say.
All right.
As a 32-year-old, he touched my labia and my vulva with his finger.
Where was your mother?
She went shopping that day.
And then after you told her, what happened?
She was upset. My first impulse was that I had done something wrong.
Okay, so this has caused family feud. Some say, oh, well, it was just because his mother was divorcing him and then she came up with these allegations. Again, he has not been convicted of it, so these are all just allegations. But I will say that going on to then marry that wife, Mia Farrow's other adoptive daughter, Soon-Ji, just seems a little weird to me. And frankly, the only reason I'm bringing this up is I can't relitigate this. Again, he was not found guilty, but we can find Blake Lively guilty of tremendous hypocrisy in this matter, asking us to just having her lawyer issue statements. Oh, throwing the allegations back on the other person. Oh, this is just so exactly what someone would do when they actually abuse. Where was that same energy? If that's truly who you are and what you believe, that every single woman should be believed, where was that same energy for Dylan Farrow? That's my question. I'm going to leave it at that. Blake Lively, I am not a fan. I am so team Justin Baldoni. I want to start selling t-shirts and wearing them with his face on it, but I'm afraid of his lawyer, Brian Friedman. He would come for me, and I think he would win because obviously he's got a little bit of fire right now. So that's all I'm going to say about that topic. All right, guys, got to remind you about the wellness company. Okay, we all know that right now the globalists are gearing up for a pandemic scare after failing at the ballot box in November. Because weeks before President Trump's inauguration, California Governor Gavin Newsom declared a bird flu state of emergency, which granted himself sweeping powers reminiscent of the COVID-19 policies. It's crazy that they can just do this now. This comes after a severe case of bird flu was reported in Louisiana. Critics warn that the pandemic fears may be weaponized to challenge Trump's agenda again, including his nomination of RFK Jr. to lead the HHS. Is this a health crisis or is it a power play? I think we know the answer. Last summer, Dr. Peter McCullough warned about the bird flu, linking the virus's rapid spread to gain-of-function research. Now, a common practice at many labs globally. They'll just make us sick and then pass laws to regulate our livelihoods. Dr. McCullough urges early prevention just in case, recommending a contagion emergency kit from the wellness company. His medical board approved solution with 5 critical life-saving medications like ivermectin, Tamiflu, a nebulizer, and hydroxychloroquine. Every household can now have access to these hard-to-get medications in the event of another pandemic. So get yours by filling out a digital intake form, and your kit will arrive between 1 to 2 weeks. Do not wait until the deep state puts their plans into action. Stay ready for the unexpected. If you're a U.S. resident, you can head to twc.health/Candace, and you can use code Candace, and you'll save $48 off plus free shipping. That's twc.health/Candace, and use code Candace today. Okay, now, sticking it with culture, before we get into politics, we got to talk about Wendy Williams. You guys were messaging me asking my opinion on this, okay? So in case you don't know who Wendy Williams is, she was an extremely popular host of the daytime talk show, which was named after her, The Wendy Williams Show, from 2008 to 2022. That is a very long time. Essentially, her show was like someone's auntie saying way too much at the cookout. You know what I'm saying? People really loved it. It was gossipy. It was funny. And she was absolutely hilarious. And so that's why it went on for so long. The show became so much bigger than it was anticipated to be. Well, essentially in 2022, she stepped down from hosting due to medical issues stemming from Graves' disease. I mean, that was what we were officially told for the reason that she was leaving. Now, all of a sudden, she is in a conservatorship, and trying to trace how she got into this conservatorship is quite difficult. What I can tell you is that she was getting divorced. She got a divorce, rather, in 2020, okay? She was married to a guy named Kevin Hunter from 1999 to 2020, and we know that the end of this was definitely traumatic, I would say. It was a traumatic ending to a relationship. It has been alleged, and I think with a ton of proof that has been presented, that she kind of, at the end of this marriage, went off the wagon drinking-wise. She was drinking a bunch, and she found out that he was, and again, I'm taking this from online chatter, as well as the documentary my cousin was telling me about, that essentially he had a whole double life, that he was cheating on her. And women, when they're coming out of long relationships, you tend to see this, and men as well, their personalities will go through some sort of an adjustment. And some people will say, oh, you're spiraling. It's just, but she obviously was drinking a lot, okay? Now, what happened thereafter is quite confusing. She had this financial advisor. Her name was Lori Schiller. And Lori Schiller somehow flagged, it seems, that spending was happening in her account that was atypical to how she spent. And she had been her financial advisor for like 14 years. She got a lot of hate. I'm unsure that hate was deserving, but what we can say is that what happened next was extremely weird, okay? So it seems like Lori Schiller took that to her bosses at Wells Fargo, because she kept saying that Wells Fargo was not defending her. Lori Schiller, working at Wells Fargo, was saying that she was taking a public lashing and she didn't deserve it. What happens next is that Wells Fargo, which didn't know banks could do this, essentially just said, we're going to freeze all of your bank accounts and petition the court for you to have a temporary financial guardianship. And that happened, okay? They just stopped her being able to have access to her money. They said that it was to protect Wendy Williams' finances and that that's the reason that they did it. Suddenly she gets somebody else that becomes her guardian. Like a Wells Fargo is somehow able to secure a guardian over her, which is crazy. It's this woman, Sandra Morrissey. I think I'm saying that name right. Yes, Sandra Morrissey. What was the first name? Sorry, say that, Skylar. Sabrina Morrissey, this woman who just looks like a villain, is now suddenly in control of her life. She doesn't know this woman. She has no relationship with her. She wasn't her financial advisor, but now she is totally in control of Wendy Williams' life. And there was supposed to be this like Lifetime A&E series, that was supposed to come out around this time. And so this woman, Sabrina, shut it down. She said that she wasn't of sound mind and the docuseries could not come out on A&E and Lifetime. And then A&E and Lifetime countersued that woman and said, actually, she wanted to bury the documentary because it would have critiqued her role as Williams' guardian. So basically, A&E and Lifetime are saying that the issue with this wasn't actually the mental state of Wendy Williams, but actually the guardian in and of itself, okay? So this is crazy. Just the concept of the bank stepping in and just taking over your entire life and you have no say-so in how you spend. And they're saying, we're doing this because we love you. You're not my mommy. You're not my daddy. Also, this is my money. Just like I have a right to make money, I have a right to burn through it. Even if it's in a traumatic time, I'm making bad decisions. Maybe I'm drinking and I'm off the wagon. Why the hell should a bank be able to step in and say, you can't spend your own money? Like, who are you? You sound like somebody who wants to make sure, because you're earning a lot of money off of my money, that nothing happens to this account. I don't like this. This is not happening because of love, okay? It's not happening out of love. It is happening because the bank is likely enriching itself due to interest. That's what I would speculate. Now, Wendy Williams last week, the reason why this is back in the news is because she appeared on The Breakfast Club, and more details about what is going on in her life. First and foremost, she did not sound cognitively impaired. So that's the first red flag, right? It's not a situation where you go, okay, well, this makes sense. She's out of her mind. And rather, she is saying that she's been living under this guardianship. They diagnosed her last year, or back in 2023, rather, with frontal temporal dementia and aphasia, which gave power to this court-appointed attorney named Roberta Kaplan, who has now said Wendy Williams is going to require care for the rest of her life. So she can't even control who she sees. She can't control who she spends. Her family has no say-so. They're fighting essentially to end this guardianship, and there's just no power. Like the state can just somehow do this. While telling us that insane asylums would be morally wrong, they can just put someone essentially in an insane asylum. And let me just be clear. Every person that I've seen gone into a conservatorship comes out crazier than when they went in it. Okay, I'm talking about Britney Spears. I'm talking about Amanda Bynes. I don't know what they're doing in a conservatorships, but if Britney Spears is any indication, force drugging you, it's essentially to make you go insane so they can keep controlling your money. And so she appeared on Breakfast Club with her niece, Alex, and she spoke about what was going on. And here is what Wendy and her niece, Alex, had to say about it.
I am not cognitively impaired, you know what I'm saying? No, but I feel like I am in prison. You understand what I'm saying?
She's there in New York, in this place, essentially like what some would call a luxury prison, right? This is her room. That's literally her apartment. But the thing about this apartment, and you know this, not Wendy, because you're there, it's small. She has a bed, a chair, a TV, a bathroom, and she's looking out one window. The building's across the street.
So now Wendy Williams is essentially calling on friends to speak out because she can't do anything. Like again, this is the most terrifying thing. I don't even know how this is allowed legally. This should obviously be abolished unless she is physically harming someone. Okay, there is nothing that is wrong with going broke. Okay, she started her life broke. She's allowed to end her life broke. It doesn't matter. Same with Britney Spears when they were like, "Oh, we got to put her in a conservatorship." Britney Spears needed a vacation. She needed a wealthy friend who owned an island, and she needed to go away with no tech for 2 weeks, and she would have been fine. She didn't need to be forced drugged. She didn't need to be forced given lithium. And the result of all of that forced drugging over more of a decade of her life is what we are dealing with now when you see Britney Spears. Okay, she's a victim of the conservatorship, not what happened before the conservatorship. She needed a break. Sometimes you need a mental break. And Wendy Williams was going through a divorce. She was drinking a lot. Homegirl needed a break, okay? She needed a break. She did go to rehab, by the way, which is what I'm saying. I don't have an issue with someone who is going to rehab and trying to get her life back on track. I have an issue with the bank stepping in and saying, your money is now mine. And now I get to appoint an attorney who is going to say that actually you need to be in this forever and no one can speak out on your behalf. But fortunately, someone has, and that person is Harvey Levin. Obviously, we know him from TMZ, a very powerful guy in Hollywood, and he has a lot of friends in Hollywood. And he spoke on the phone with her, with Wendy Williams, for an hour and a half. And he, too, is disturbed by the fact that she's in a conservatorship. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Hey everybody, it's Harvey Levin from TMZ. I just spent an hour and a half on the phone with Wendy Williams. And I can tell you that the Wendy Williams I spoke to today is the same Wendy Williams that I knew 10 years ago. There was no difference. She was lucid, she was articulate, she was with it. And she was opinionated. I'm not going to get into the specifics because it was an off-the-record conversation. But she wants me to give my evaluation of what I heard. Charlemagne the God was on the phone call as well. And my impressions were precisely what Charlemagne has already said, that Wendy Williams seemed like she could have done her radio show today. There was no lapse in her judgment. There was no hesitation in what she was saying. And I'm not a doctor, but I am alarmed that Wendy Williams has had her freedom taken away from her. And I don't understand exactly why.
Nobody understands exactly why, and that is the problem. And so this is something that I am drawing attention to because, again, this is terrifying, and this relates to politics when we speak about the overreach of government. And you hear a story like this, someone just stepping in and saying, we're going to take all your money. Maybe something was wrong. Maybe someone was spending a lot. That's like I said, people come out of divorces. Women do weird stuff. They start dressing super sexy, get some piercing. Some women, they start drinking more because it's a major life change. It's a major life change to go from being in a relationship. And even more so said when you have a husband that stepped out on you and potentially has another family. If that is true about Kevin Hunter and he completely had another relationship, there is going to be some period of a spiral, which is understandable. It has nothing to do with the bank, and the bank is not doing this because they love her. And so I view this as her being wronged. I view this as her being imprisoned, and I want to use my platform to say that Wendy Williams should be freed before they do to her what they did to Britney Spears. And that really is the long and the thick of it. And I also want to remind you, by the way, since when is being crazy or being on drugs a reason to put somebody in a conservatorship? That's Hollywood. What are you talking about? It's Hollywood, all of Hollywood. And I'm like going through this with my team. I'm going, how many people do we know that could have been put on conservatorships that ended up being fine? Number one, Lindsay Lohan. She could have used a conservatorship. No, she was going through a party girl phase. She had two terrible parents. I felt so bad for who her parents were. And now she's married and she has a child and she has a new face and she looks incredible. Okay. Lindsay Lohan was just fine. And yet nobody stepped in to try to take her money. Why is that? You've also they're trying to say, oh, she's maybe got early onset dementia. We just had Joe Biden for president for 4 years. So you can completely miss me with she has lucid and not lucid days, as her court-appointed attorney said about Wendy Williams, okay? Joe Biden never even had a lucid day, and he was president of the United States. So that excuse is gone. Lastly, drinking, doing drugs. Was Charlie Sheen a person? Does everybody remember the interviews that Charlie Sheen was giving? Dude was making like $1.5 million every episode of 2.5 Men, and he was just fully on like crack cocaine and drugs. And then when he got dropped in 2.5 Men, went on a spree and just gave every interview and was like, yeah, whatever, I like drugs. Remember this clip? Take a listen.
Tell me about the last time you took drugs.
The last time I took drugs, I probably took more than anybody could survive.
What are we talking about? How much?
I don't know, man. I was banging 7-gram rocks and finishing them because that's how I roll. I have one speed. I have one gear. Go.
How do you survive that?
Because I'm me. Because I'm me. I'm different. I just have a different constitution. I have a different brain. I have a different heart. I have a different, I get tiger blood, man.
He had tiger blood. Okay. He was just like one speed, go, and no one put him in a conservatorship. So again, you can miss me with all of these pathetic excuses coming out of Hollywood. There's something way more sinister going on with Wendy Williams. All right, guys, going to remind you about GoldCo because it's officially 2025 and we could be in for a seriously bumpy ride. We've got a new president, fortunately, but there is some bad news that has been piling up. Stock market volatility, credit card defaults are soaring, global conflicts don't seem to be going anywhere, and the national debt is bursting at the seams. You know the saying, hope for the best but plan for the worst? Well, that's exactly what I'm doing, and that's exactly why I've partnered with the top precious metals company, which is GoldCo. I have personally done business with them, and they are the best. Right now, my viewers will get a free copy of their 2025 gold and silver kit. And you could also qualify for up to $15,000 in bonus silver, possibly even more. Gold and silver has been used as a store of value for centuries and as a hedge against market risk and inflation. So if you want to learn more, you just head to CandaceLikesGold.com. That's CandaceLikesGold.com. Okay, now for a bit of Catholicism. There is no such thing as a female bishop. I am sorry to tell you this. Apparently, some people think that there can be, won't be, will be in the future. Okay, the answer is just no. That is the doctrine. It is just a negative. And so the story is absolutely hilarious. The National Cathedral Prayer Service for the inauguration, they decided to elect a female bishop to talk to Trump. He should have some mercy on some transgender children and immigrant families. That's what she said via a sermon, essentially. This woman that you're looking at here, her name is Marianne Edgar Budd, and she serves as a spiritual leader and the bishop to 86 Episcopalian congregations and 10 Episcopalian schools in Washington, D.C., and 4 in Maryland counties. Now, the reason why this makes me chuckle, and I'm sorry if we have Episcopalians in the chat right now, is because I lived in D.C. We literally just sold our place in D.C. A couple months ago. And my husband and I, when we first got married, lived there. And we'd walk around and we would just see these churches that just had trans flags on them. It was almost like it was a church for transgenderism. And I was like, what is this? They were always Episcopalian. And I was just wondering, what has happened in the Protestant Episcopalian church? I don't know how they got there. I'm not here to challenge that route. I'm just here to say that transgender children, I'm not going to say anything. I just got remonetized on YouTube. Let me bite my tongue. Anyways, here's what Bishop Marian Edgar Budd said to Trump, who was sitting in the first pew.
Let me make one final plea, Mr. President.
Go for it, girl.
Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families.
JD.
Some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens.
JD Vance
or
right
have
now.
The proper documentation. But the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals.
She's like, who's going to clean our toilets? It's like borderline racist what she's saying. But JD Vance just keeps cutting to his wife as if he's on the Office show and looking for the camera. He's just like, where's the camera? Is this really happening? Camera glance. Okay, what's going on here? Is this real? And Tiffany Trump and Laura, by the way, is trying not to laugh in the background. And you guys know that's why I couldn't be there, because I am just, you can't bring me to these. I would have just burst out laughing. That's just absolutely hilarious. Anyways, I don't know. I just feel like if you're out there and you're Protestant, how did this happen? Questioning that. If you're Episcopalian, how did you get there? And, what is it about female bishops in particular that can be objected to? Well, one of the things I was having a discussion with, and again, I am not the authority in the church whatsoever, but I was saying to someone else who I was trying to kind of get over to the Catholic side, they were talking about this issue of now, this female leadership in the church. And I said to them, one of the reasons, and you could kind of talk about what happened in politics when women got the right to vote, and I'm not saying anything about that. I'm just saying there you could draw some parallels, but women were naturally wired to be more emotional. And that's a good thing. That's a great thing. It's why we're so great with children. And it's why we are so great in certain situations. It's because we are literally more emotional than men. That is just a fact. That is just a biological fact that we have more compassion. But when your compassion can be hijacked, because rather than applying that to like, oh, my children, I'll do anything for my children to protect my children. And you start applying it to like, well, you know, a transgender person knocked on the church and like, you know, listen to their story. It's so human. Like, shouldn't we just start accepting transgender children? That compassion, like I said, is now being hijacked, and I believe being hijacked for tremendous evil. And so I think that once you start seeing female bishops, you can just go ahead and open the doors to the LGBTQIA plus agenda. That's my viewpoint. And like everything that she is saying is just stands in complete antithesis to Catholic doctrine. And so I am certain that some people will disagree with that. That is absolutely fine. But Trump just, I think, signed an executive order so we can officially say now that there's only two genders. I think that is now official. It's the law of the land. Anyways, Trump wrote this on Truth Social regarding that moment. He waited, he bit his tongue. He's a better man than me. The so-called bishop who spoke at the National Prayer Service on Tuesday morning was a radical left, hardline Trump hater. She brought her church into the world of politics in a very ungracious way. She was nasty in tone and not compelling or smart. She failed to mention the large number of illegal migrants that came into our country and killed people. Many were deposited from jails and mental institutions. It's a giant crime wave that is taking place in the USA. Apart from her inappropriate statements, the service was a very boring and uninspiring one. She's not very good at her job. She and her church owe the public an apology. So there you have it. I know we're going overtime here, but I also want to, oh God, maybe I should wait because I feel like I want to go long on this. Yeah, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to get into the Ross Ulbricht thing because we should really talk about that as like a major point of an episode, not something that we're skimming through quickly because we're running out of time. And so we'll bump Ross Ulbricht to tomorrow. I guess we'll get into some of your comments right after. I think I have actually just one more company that I want to tell you guys that you should be supporting. And you guys know it's American Financing because there are so many Americans that are carrying real high credit card balances that charge 20% or more each and every month. It is totally time to take control of your debt. So if you are a homeowner and you have been waiting to figure out how to get your finances in order, you should call my friends at American Financing today. American Financing salary-based mortgage consultants are helping homeowners just like you tap into their home's equity to get out of high-interest debt. They're saving their average customer $800 a month by doing this. Saving that kind of money every month should make the decision really easy. All it takes is a 10-minute, no-cost, no-obligation phone call to find out how much you could be saving. And if you start today, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. So call American Financing today at 800-795-1210. Again, the number is 800-795-1210. Or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. That's americanfinancing.net/Owens today. All right, what are you guys saying? Let's read some of your comments and some of your questions. Let me scroll down and see who is up first. Regarding Blake Lively, David Jean says, Blake Lively and her lawyers asked the court to put a gag order against Justin Baldoni, and his lawyers have reported. That's being reported right now by TMZ. Wow, the news just broke. Yeah, I imagine that he's going to want to probably gag that because that is just insane. I mean, it makes sense. It's the more the public knows, the more ruinous it is for her career. And the court should immediately shut that down, given the fact that she played this in the press first, okay? The New York Times, somehow, within hours of her filing something that was supposed to remain private, according to the Californian practices, they had an inside scoop, not only an inside scoop, but they fully, and this is why he is suing them for $400 million, just took out everything that could have meaningfully contextualized her allegations and not made him look like a villain. So I'm sorry. You get what you ask for in life. I hope that they completely shut that down. The court should shut that down. Jessica Wickers writes, Wendy called out Beyonce. And this might have something to do with what happened to her. Wendy showed a clip of Beyonce on an Australian show with what seemed to be a fake baby bump. I remember that baby bump thing, and people thought that I never subscribed to that conspiracy theory. I love a good conspiracy theory, but I think that she just maybe like sat weird or something. I've been pregnant for so long. I've seen everything look weird. I don't know. And I can't imagine that Beyonce is the author of what's happening. I don't think she's that petty. over something like a baby bump. Could be. Good to know. I'll look into it. Marcy writes, Candace, on 2/15/24, Jared Kushner discussed Gaza's waterfront property, which is very valuable. Trump just made the comment of Gaza needing to be rebuilt in a different way in a great location. Thoughts? My thoughts are that it has always been an operation that is steeped in corruption. It was never about what happened on October 7th. You can find this due to videos of Bibi Netanyahu extensively saying that they needed to hit Palestinians so hard that there could be no way that they could return. That is what has happened since October 7th. If you look at what's happening in the court case against Bibi Netanyahu, who is being tried, he says he couldn't show up for his trial because he apparently has prostate cancer. But if you look into that case and you recognize that what took place on the day of October 7th is corruption, and you look into the history of Israel and their extensive history with false flag attacks, not just in America with the USS Liberty, but also against British people, and against Americans with the Lavon affair, we have a right to ask questions. And apparently, I just think that there was always a plan, and people that have been pushing this, the Zionist lobby in the media, could potentially even be invested already in that property. They could have made those investments before October 7th even happened. They're talking about how valuable the waterfront property could be where people live. And then suddenly, oh, what do you know? Every building has been demolished. It was an appropriate response, and now it needs to be rebuilt. And completely ridiculous. Roberto Zar writes, a privileged woman like Blake will never understand how real sexual assault victims are affected by this, and it shows. Yes, she is harming real victims, and that is why I am here to expose this, because I am a villain of the Me Too movement. I really have hated this movement from its inception, and I think it's gross and it's disgusting. And I think women using these terms because they want attention or they want revenge on a guy for something they should have to face some sort of a real penalty. And I'm glad that that penalty can simply be the persecution of the public. Abigail writes, this has ruined my favorite movie, Just Friends. Yeah, that's a rom-com with Ryan Reynolds. I have never seen Just Friends, but Ryan Reynolds just gives me that vibe. Like it was just a little petty maneuver of him joining Taylor Swift and marching and unfollowing Justin Owens, who she dated for 5 years and he was good friends with. I just went, you're like a child, again, Arrested Development, and now I find you to be annoying. I mean, writing someone into a movie so you can get revenge. Like Ryan Reynolds is like 48 years old, guys. He's 48 years old. Like the teenage drama has to stop at some point. Lastly, we have Garrel. Oh no, a couple more. Garrel writes, further to the point about Nice Pool. Nice Pool is played by Gordon Reynolds, and guess who is mentioned as a special thanks in the credits of It Ends With Us? You guessed it, Gordon Reynolds. Okay. My producer is writing a note that during It Ends With Us closing credits, Blake thanked, Gordon Reynolds. Oh my gosh, I get this now. So apparently, yeah, during the closing credits, Blake decided to thank Gordon Reynolds, which is actually just Ryan Reynolds' alias in the movie Nice Pool. So it's basically them thinking they're being really funny and bullying. And she's basically saying thank you for bullying Justin Baldoni. And in the movie Deadpool, because Gordon Reynolds is actually just Ryan Reynolds playing Justin Baldoni, which is really disgusting. I just find them to be really gross people now. Lastly, the Green Revan writes, Candace doing the Trump voice is everything, the first female version I've heard, and everyone has a Trump voice. That is true. Thank you. Thank you very much. Guys, reminding you, actually, I'm telling you, I don't think I've reminding you of anything. You asked and we delivered on our Standis Cup. Everything is fake and gay. You can pre-order that now. It will be shipping in February, so just expect some delays on that shipment. We decided to go with purple. And to be clear, YouTube, when we say fake and gay, we're not making fun of homosexuals. We are doing the old school meaning of the word gay here, and recognizing that everything in this world right now is definitively fake and gay. Again, not anything that we are saying against homosexuals. Homosexuals should buy this cup. Everyone should buy this cup. Heterosexuals, homosexuals, every person who recognizes that things are getting extremely weird in our society. So you can go ahead and you can head to clubcandace.com to secure yours today. Limited edition one on our race here to 4 million subscribers. If you're watching this, by the way, be sure to subscribe. Subscribe. I don't know why I'm pointing as if, where would it be? Let me look. I can actually see where it is. No, you can't see it. It's down below. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our goal is to get to 4 million. Maybe we can do it before I go on maternity leave. Yeah, I think we can probably do it. All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.